Hi, good morning, friends. Um, Sorry, a little bit minute late here. We have a little bit of dog drama at my house. We have a guest yoga dog today. This is Buttercup, and I hope she's a good girl. So welcome, Janice. Yeah, uh, Zoom and this I know the live stream is yeah, a little bit um more virtual than Zoom, but hopefully, yeah, we've really become accustomed to this and really appreciate um doing yoga in our own home. I think it really can be a way of bringing our practice, right, weaving into our everyday life. So um, let's just really appreciate that. Um, so we start this class, I like to describe it. We start by stopping. And thanks, Ashley. I can tell Buttercup is like a little bit nervous. But yeah, thanks for welcoming her in. Let's just take some deeper breaths. And in a way, there's both putting down right now, there's a very intentional putting down what I would even just call all of our personal stuff, all of the unresolved stuff. You might just even name it, if there's certain things weighing on you, like you're just putting it down. Now, it's close by, let it stay near you. This isn't a pushing away, it's just a loosening of the grip that we have. And almost like driving a car, you have the steering wheel, but there's no reason to grip it, to get that tension. And then we bring awareness to the body. Like, what am I giving my precious attention to? So now we very intentionally become the driver. Like, what direction am I sending my heart in? And I'm going to name these because there are what are called the unwholesome roots. And the first of these is greed or craving or any kind of wanting or desire. Whether it's just fantasize like about like I want a better body, I want a different body, or you're just on, doing online shopping and you're just overwhelmed with this feeling of like, I want this, I want this, I want this. So this is just human nature. So we can observe that getting caught up in greed and wanting, it's really not the road that leads to happiness. It's a dead end. And then the second of these unwholesome roots is any kind of hatred or anger or anything that we get tight and we push things away. So rather than wanting things, we push things like, I don't want that. And that can lead to suffering. That's like another road Sometimes we feel really justified to be angry and then say things that are like, really hurtful. And we learn, like, well, that's not the path. But it's a very human, in our nature to experience anger, aversion. So we're understanding these. And then the third one is just delusion. And this is where we get caught up in like these like fantasies or stories about our present moment experience. Or I like how delusion is sometimes called superficiality. Like we have a very superficial relationship, even with our own body. So as we practice today, we could even note that as you start to breathe, it really does create this deeper understanding, deeper intimacy. So now you're just going to lean to one side, just place your hand down, and then just reach the other arm up. And in a very simple way, now as you switch sides, you're just going to appreciate just the fact that you're here, you're taking this time, just appreciating that you have this time, you have this measure of health to do this work. And so we're even reminded that you're doing this for the people around you, the pets around you. So you're just not just a inner, connecting my body. In a way, we're connecting to all beings with bodies, with this deep understanding, like having a body. I could complain a lot, or I know that complaining is kind of a dead end. So I'm just going to do what I can to be healthy. Go ahead and breathe through your nose here. Just feel connect. You might even kind of take stock here of what seems to be moving with ease, what seems a little creaky, or if there's some chronic pain within. Like you're just really intimate with it and like, uh-huh, oh, okay, I understand. And I even care, I just reminded how much I care about taking care of this body and being free of tension. So as we let go of this action, you're gonna let go, you can release your seated pose and then just move on to let's move on to the back for a moment. So I love just taking a little bit of time as you lay down here and just feel, especially just this kind of flow of, kind of flow of energy here. Now your legs are going to go up into the air. And with your legs up in the air, you're going to start to move your feet and your toes. You can circle your feet around, you can move your toes. Make sure you're still breathing through your nose here. So in a way that delusion is when we start to move into the past or the future. So we're right here. Now go ahead and grab your thighs and you're going to bring yourself up, coming up to more of a boat pose. And even in boat pose here, you're going to point and flex your toes. Just let the ankles, toes move. And then as you drop your feet down, you can take the soles of the feet together and move to this pose of Baddha Konasana. So starting to open through your hips. Breathe way down to your belly here. Good. Now, as you let this go, you're just going to move right onto all fours. On all fours, you're going to start to move your spine a little bit. Just cat and cow. Start kind of small. Breathe through your nose. This is a good one for feeling your chest cavity. I mean, really all the cavities, like abdominal cavity, the cavity of your mouth, and just bringing in some space. So grounding down, feeling the pushing down here, aware of your whole body. So when we're really moving away from delusion, we start to include everything. Just so you could start including your whole body here. Whole body doing this. Now let your toes just tuck under and start to lift the hips up a little bit towards that down dog feeling. Walk your feet a little bit here. But very, very strong arms. And then just lightly touch your knees down. And we're going to do kind of a little comparison here. Like, what would this feel like if you had your forearms down? So if you go into the pose of dolphin pose, your forearms are down. I like to even just take my hands together, like my palms together, and push down through your forearms, toes tuck under, and you lift up towards that down dog position again. Now, if it feels like this pose is either painful or doesn't really feel right, then you could just move into downward facing dog. So just a slightly different position for shoulders. And of course, you're not, bearing down on your wrists. Just get the hips way up there, lift your heels way up. Now, lightly touch your knees down and just move right back up onto all fours. Take your knees really wide apart. And let's just take a nice little warm-up twist here. So your left hand is going to stay down. And you really push into that bottom arm. That left arm is straight as you roll open your right shoulder. And as it rolls open, very naturally, you're going to start to twist. So lengthen through your spine. And then eventually reach your right arm, like wherever it wants to go, so that you are wide across your chest. Lots of space. And then letting this go. The right hand comes down and really push down. So when you push down and you start to open up you're actually lifting out of your right shoulder. You're not sinking down there at all. And as that lifts up, it opens across the chest. And then, like, oh, just right for that top arm, shoulder, breathing through your nose. So go ahead and study this as you go back and forth. In a way, you're really moving past the words or the analyzing. So you might even observe here again, like, boy, I could start really kind of complaining about my body. Or just any opinion, things I like, things I don't like. That's very natural. But here, we're actually practicing just feeling and breathing. Feeling and breathing. Fewer words. Because it's when you're feeling that you're really going to hone in on like just that right action, just the right movement here as you're doing this. Because every body will do this, a little bit different, its own unique way. As you let this go, hands come down, take your knees a little bit closer together, and just step. Now we're going to step the right foot forward. And as it steps forward, you're in kind of a low lunge position because you're going to drop the pelvis down a little bit. The back left thigh drops down. And if it feels okay here, now you can also, if you use yoga blocks under your hands, you might bring blocks in here. But we're just going to take the hips back. Sometimes this one is just called the runner's stretch. You might lift up on fingertips here and lift your right toes up. And then bend your right knee again. So this kind of just goes like back and forth with your hips. Hips reaching back. Forward as you kind of sink into the lunge position. And just waking up through the hips. Even you want to be aware of your spine here too. Like there's a kind of a positioning or just energy flowing through your spine as you're doing this. Airways are open. Good. And then as you let this go, bringing that right knee back. And let's just go right into the left side here. So that left foot, as it steps forward, really bend the knee. And that back right thigh is dropping down. Now you can't really see that because of Buttercup's head. So you'll just have to follow my words. Left hips go back. Straightening that left leg. I like to lift the toes up here. And then just back and forth. You're even waking up like through your foot, that left foot. It lifts up a little bit. Dropping down and just getting the breath flowing. Energy in the spine all the way through the spine. Good. Now, as we let this go, you're just going to take that left knee back, really spread your fingers and push, intentionally push the base of your fingers down, the knuckles. And you could also slightly push your fingertips down. So in this way, there's not all of that pressure on your wrists as you go to down dog. So you're lifting up, lift the hips way up. Feel this inversion, almost like your whole spine now upside down, Head is upside down. If you want to reach your heels down, move into that nice deep calf stretch. Good. Now walk the feet forward, 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 and come up to standing. Just pushing into the feet. So we're going to reach the arms way out to the side. Draw your shoulder blades right on your back. And just be aware of that, that uprightness. Bring your arms down alongside you. Stay wide across your collarbones. You're probably just looking straight forward here. For chin to be level. And then really keep this energy in your spine now as we just go into just a little more dynamic action of marching action. Now you can do this, at your own pace. As you're doing this, there really is an awareness of the spine, or the back strength. It's good that, it's like you're remembering, like, oh, anytime that I'm walking, oh yeah, it really does feel good to kind of bring that consciousness into this space of my spine, my chest, even the head, like the weight of your head, like it's just lifting up, up, up. And it aligns through your airways. Even in your hips, can you feel that when you're stepping down, that you're not like sinking into your hip. In your hip joints, it's like going up, 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 up. The feet, of course, are grounding, grounding, grounding. Good. Let this go. Pause. Take the feet a little bit wider apart and move right into your twist. Twisting, twisting. This one, so good. I know my spine gets really happy as I do this one because it's like I'm just giving it some time to loosen, loosen, loosen. I'm not trying to crank it into a yoga pose. I'm just giving it some space and some time. It can be a tendency, if we observe human nature, that we don't want to give things space and time. We want it now. So right now, notice how I'm just giving my body this time. You're very tall and upright. Keep feeling your feet as you're doing this. Like really articulate that grounding, the stability, the feeling of I'm grounding, grounding. And the more you're grounding, there's more of a fluidity of this. You're not unstable. You're really free of tension. Sometimes as you're doing this, it can feel good to go, like make some sounds. Ah, ah, ah. Good. Now go ahead and pause. Take the hands behind you, interlace your fingers behind you, lift your chest up, and then a little soft bend of the knees. Really lift your chest and draw your shoulder blades together, and then fold forward. So you're untucking your tailbone, you're taking your belly towards your thighs. Now you are drawing your shoulder blades together here. And it might feel like as you do that, it almost like it lengthens your neck because your shoulders kind of lift up away from your ears. Belly keep pressing toward your thighs. You might even start to straighten your legs here. If you straighten your legs, make sure your navel doesn't pull away from your thighs. So navel keeps pulling toward your thighs. And come up, push into the feet, release your fingers. Now reach your arms all the way up. Ah. So just straight up and down here. Lift the ribs straight up. Keep your throat aligned. Like even your throat is kind of telescoping open. Bring your right arm down. Take that nice little side stretch for your left side. The breastbone really lifts up as you do this. Make sure you're not going into the side stretch where you start to cave in your heart. Lifting. And then just switch, just bringing that right arm up. Straight legs, and lift your navel a little bit. But full body breath here. This takes a little imagination, like I'm feeling my whole body. So this takes us deeper into reality. So moving into reality and into the present moment experience, that's the opposite of delusion. Where we might notice things that, I typically don't notice that. And that's how you know that you're on that path that leads to freedom. So letting go, bring that right arm down and just move yourself towards the front of your mat. We're going to take ourselves just through a few movements, kind of a sun salutation, but we'll start with the right foot forward and take that left foot and just step it way back. Now you could take your hands just on your right thigh here, just straighten that back leg. So be aware of your feet. You can just nice and open here. Straighten the leg. Back there, that left leg. And then bring awareness to your spine. Like you start to lift up a little more upright from your tailbone. So your tailbone draws in. And that brings you more upright. Your arms start to reach up. But very steady. Lifting a line through your airways again. Now, let's take the arms and reach the arms out to the side and just take a little twist to your right. Make sure, get even wider across your chest. It might almost feel like your arms are moving behind you a little bit. Draw your tailbone in. Breathing. So your ribs are rotating. I've really been focusing on this lately. That feeling of your ribs are moving here. And you're not, straining your head, your neck, or your shoulders. Now, as you untwist, as you face the front, stabilize, levelize, and then lean forward and move into tree pose where you're balancing now on the right leg. So we move into, it's like every one of these is a different study. And each one of these poses could come with their own story almost. I have this story about my body. So remember, we're letting go of these stories and we're noticing what's happening right now. Like, okay, I know that story really well, but what's happening right now? You could take your arms wherever works right now, but make sure you include your arms. You're aware of what they're doing. Go ahead now and step that left foot back where it came from. So you're stepping back and take the hands just on that right thigh again. Kind of lean forward. Straighten the back leg and then reach your arms forward. So it's really long and probably this challenging, this strong position. Now let your fingers lightly touch the mat, fingertips, and then back to downward facing dog. Steady your breath or just bring awareness to the rhythm of your breath. And as we bring awareness to the rhythm of the breath, like you could choose kind of a smooth, steady rhythm. Now, you're going to just take your left knee, touch your left knee down. And as that left knee touches, the left foot swings a little bit out to the left, and you start to reach your right leg back. You lift your right leg, and it reaches way back, like the sole of your foot moves back. And you start to roll open to the right. So your right hip lifts, even your right arm, starts to lift up. But make sure, you're balancing here. So you're stable. So we need some time and space, which we have, because we're kind of freeing ourselves. Right arm reaching up here. The space of the heart opening. Good. Now, as that top hand comes down, that right hand comes down, your right foot is going to drop, but just your toes tuck under on the mat. And then the left leg also goes back, so you're in plank pose. Do you have any personal stories about plank pose? I like this, I don't like it. My body won't do this one. Why do we have to do plank pose? So can we just feel what's happening right now? I'm breathing, I'm working, and I could bring a little smile onto my lips. Maybe I'm going to practice my knee down plank. Like you could always touch your knees down and just see what happens. Maybe you do that and you realize I'm just going to keep my legs straight. Now, in your own way, you're going to transition down onto your belly and reach your legs back. So your thighs might slide back, shift back, but then your heart starts to reach forward. Cobra. So if we have any kind of story about these poses, that's a sign that we really have to look closer. Like, okay, I know my story, but what's happening right now? I'm breathing, I'm feeling. How does this feel today? Move your neck a little bit. Go ahead and take. So, cobra is a very long neck position. And if your neck is long, it should be able to twist. Like, feel how long your neck is as you're looking side to side. I don't care if this is a small twist or a large twist. It's just a feeling of space, of no, I'm not pushing into any kind of pain. I'm just exploring the effort of lengthening and then the twisting back and forth. Now, go ahead and release this. You might slide your hands back a little further as you prepare for down dog. Toes under, push into your hands, you lift up, and you breathe. Long, long, long spine. Like the hips are moving back away from your armpits. So let's walk the feet forward towards the hands. And just come up, push into the feet, come all the way up, reach your arms up, look forward. And then just bring your arms down alongside you so you're standing in Tadasana, mountain pose. Isn't it good to remind yourself, like, this is a pose? It's one of those poses, we can overlook. So that is, again, it's kind of delusion where, you might find yourself in Tadasana where you're just waiting. You're waiting for the next pose. So let's really move into this, explore the spaciousness of this pose, even the strength. And the fact that you probably don't really stand upright that often. Let's now keep the left foot forward and step the right foot back. Find that lunge position. You could at first just take your left hand or your hands on your left thigh and really straighten the back leg, even lean forward a little bit. So that leaning forward is just a lengthening of your spine. And then as you start to come up, it's a pelvic action where your tailbone starts to draw under, kind of scoop under, and you lift your navel. So the whole pelvis starts to come more upright. Back leg staying straight. As you lift up through your spine, you might reach your arms up, but very strong through your spine. And even this flow through your shoulders, like this energetic, it's right from your solar plexus. It goes up through your arms. So there's really no disconnect, just that flow through your shoulders. And that means your arms just go where it makes sense for you. Now the arms are going to go out to the side, really wide across your chest as you twist your left. Twisting, breathing, moving deeper into the present. Rather than if you get caught up in oh my gosh, how much longer are we going to be here? So you breathe and you move into the present experience. Rather than just enduring this, we experience. So we're feeling, Breathing, things like, ah, I'm trembling. And that doesn't have to be a problem. As you untwist, you move into your tree where you shift your weight onto the left leg. And so we really wake up like all of this strength to balance in a way that's really suitable for your body. Your arms, you're taking them wherever makes sense. So notice here too, there's that lifting up through the left leg from from your ankle down is really grounding. From your ankle up is lifting. And relaxing into this. As you start to let go of your tree pose, that right foot is going to step way back. You could take your hands on the left thigh for a moment, lean forward. It's just this feeling of the spine now just lengthened, slight, tilting of your pelvis. You're not really upright, and then your arms reach forward. So really strong. Breathe. Fingertips touch the mat. You might step your right foot back a little further. Now move back to down dog. Hands down, feet stepping back. And explore that very sharp angle in your hips. As we start to warm up with down dog, it's like we're really getting that crispness of this upside down V shape. So the legs are straight, the arms are straight. Sharp angle in the hips, kind of pointy V. And part of that, though, is that conscious decision of what your heels are doing. You can lift your heels up and still have a really nice crisp V shape. Now remember, we're just exploring this without the delusion of, oh, I have to make this V shape. So your right knee is going to touch down. And your right foot opens out to the right a little bit. And then your left leg lifts and reaches back, straight back. And you start to open that left hip. You open, you open, you open, you open your left shoulder. Feel free to just pause and rearrange. There's time, there's space to explore. Left arm reaching up, space around the heart. Strong, balanced. Breathe through your nose and breathe into your whole body here. So we're moving more intimately, not a superficial awareness, but more intimate with the body. I could complain here, but I'm letting the complaints just pass by. Now, as that top hand comes down, the left leg lowers, but your left toes tuck under on your mat, and then the right leg joins in. So you're in your plank pose. You might close your eyes here so that all of your awareness is in your body, feeling, breathing. In your own way, lower down onto the mat. So when we're on the belly here, legs, I like to right away just extend the legs back. And then lifting to your cobra. So part of cobra is that widening across the chest. And as you're lifting up here, you could kind of let your shoulders kind of lift up. So we're aware of that not happening. Shoulders are drawing down, but the spine lifts up. So there's that length of your neck. Again, explore the twist. Looking to one side, looking to the other side, and just that repetition. There's the repetition that kind of loosens tension around the neck. And as you keep doing this, it's like the neck gets longer and longer. Shoulder blades draw back. Heart is reaching forward. Now, let's take the hands forward for a moment. Stack your hands and place your forehead on your hands. And we're going to just focus on the lower half. So you're going to go ahead and lengthen your right leg and lift your right leg. Use your right glutes, use your right buttock muscles. Lower the right leg down and then lengthen the left leg and lift it straight up. So try not to bend your knee at all. Left leg down and then do this back and forth. And you are definitely kind of igniting your glutes, your back muscles, and you might feel like right side, left side, back and forth. Notice how this doesn't have to be a really big lift of the leg. In fact, you could do that a couple times. Like do the action without at any concern of how high you're lifting your leg. Maybe spread your toes. There's no crunching of your toes. Good. And as we let that go, you could lift your head, just slide your hands back. Now, as you slide your hands down near your lower ribs, the shoulders draw down away from your ears. So keep the shoulders there as you go to down dog. So you're lifting up. So even in down dog now, the neck is long and you could kind of look to the side, back and forth, do that twist through the neck. Really get that nice length through your spine after doing those back bends. Good. And then the feet now will just walk forward towards the hands. And you're going to come on up. You push into your feet. Reach your arms way up. And then you bring your arms down right alongside you. And just pause, mountain pose. Moving into stillness. And then just go right back to that marching action that we did earlier. So this just a more dynamic, just breathing, moving with that kind of special awareness of what's happening in your spine and your back strength and kind of I am building this integrity of my spine as I'm doing this I'm keeping my heart open. So I guess we do this, a way of thinking of it is that we're creating these new pathways, almost like poking holes in bad habits of ways that we even walk where we like lose consciousness and we kind of slouch with that forward head syndrome, or looking at your phone. And this is like, oh yeah, this is really no small practice. These are new pathways. Now, go ahead and pause. And we're going to do one last little standing pose here with a pretty big action in your hips. Now, you might do this one using the assist of a wall, which would be like if I'm going to bend my right leg first, I'm going to just take left fingertips, very lightly touching the wall. So this one, I like to start with a little bend of the knees, like you're in a little teeny squat, but spine is lifted, like you do not sink your chest. Right foot is going to lift up, and you're going to cross the right leg over the left. So more direct is like really, literally, like crossing your leg, like you were sitting in a chair. A lot of people don't sit like this because their hips are tight. It's like, woo, that's a lot in the hips. So we start fairly upright. Like, I'm not sinking too low here. So that in your hips, it's like you're lifting up out of your hips. You can really keep your chest lifted. I'm almost in a back bend. You can see I've like almost a little arch of my back. You do not want to pull your navel in here. Okay, so keep a little belly forward and maybe sit a little deeper. So as you sit a little bit deeper hip flexion. And for some people, you might even kind of fold forward a little bit as if your belly was dropping down. And if you lean forward a bit, try not to pull your navel up, okay? Good, so even let go of the wall for a moment, stay wide across the chest, and then start to come up. Now as you come up, even leave the leg where it is, that right leg. And then foot comes down. Now that's a lot of action in your hip, even your knee. So do this mindfully. I'm going to switch sides. I am going to get a little wall touch with my right fingers. Little bend of the knees. So yeah, this is kind of a balance pose, right? And you cross your legs. So that left goes over right. You might feel this like, ooh, my hips are tight. Like I know for me, like, ooh, my left knee is a little more limited in its movement. So I'm mindful of that. That's all. Like I don't have to start thinking like, my bad knee. When will it get better? Like I'm just mindful. I'm like, okay, what am I feeling right now? Does this feel okay? This, as I'm moving into this, and I can feel actual space in my joints. I'm not cranking, pushing, there's no pain. I'm just mindful of, especially those areas that are most sensitive, we want to, they need a little more care. Now, come on up to standing, complete uprightness. So you get to play with going back and forth with this one. Now, it could work that you keep your fingers on the wall, like, on one side. Like I could, with my right fingers on the wall, I'm going to kind of sit here and then I'm going to lift my right leg up. Play with that lifting of the ribs, little folding forward. And even one thing you could be mindful of is that you don't need to go to the max. Like, oh, let's see how far I can get. I could go further. So that's called greed. That's like, oh, wait a minute. That's right. I'm of the nature to want more and be greedy. So I'm going to switch sides. So maybe not getting caught up in greed. Or aversion. Maybe you don't like this pose. I hate this pose. Like, well, let's see, what's really happening below the surface. Yeah, this is really a lot of sensation. How could I do this in a way? Now it could even move like a little quicker, like back and forth. Like, what is a way that I could do this that feels just really stable? I can stay fairly calm as I'm doing this really, like I'm just calling them deep actions in your joints. And as I practice going back and forth, this starts to maybe allow this mobility in the hips. But there's definitely a really deep strength in the spine, in the back, just to stay really upright and buoyant. There's actual sense of space in the joints because of this kind of lifting, buoyant quality through the whole spine. So please make sure you're aware, what's happening, lower back, hips, how deep you're going into this. Because this can, possibly your joints might allow this to really fold, really deeply fold forward. But we could learn, like every time, we come out of the pose, breath is flowing, maybe even like a quieter experience. Because there's such a direct connection to feeling what's going on. This pose, let's go ahead and just pause so we'll let go. So this pose has that same benefit as like your pigeon pose. Just so you know, that action in the hips. This can bring relief to things like sciatica or any kind of pinching lower back, hip area. And then just take the feet like a little bit wider apart and go ahead and move to your full forward bend. Take yourself down onto the floor. So, as you move onto the floor, We're going to move into specific back strengthening. So you were just using the back muscles a little bit, even in that pose we were doing. But now we're going to get into more of an actual back bend. We're just going to practice a few times, again, the repetition. But we're going to move into fish pose, Matsyasana. So as you recline, and this one too, I'll definitely demonstrate because sometimes, so this is that whole upper body back bend all the way to the crown of the head. So you start with your legs straight. And we're going to do the variation where your elbows are bent and your upper arms are on the floor and you are grounding your shoulders. You are not really pushing your elbows down for a moment here. So just get that feeling of pushing down, even tuck your shoulder blades under a little bit. Legs are straight, toes are pointing up. So can you feel this nice wide across the chest? So you want to keep that nice space and open across your chest and your heart. But you are going to now push into your elbows and lift your breastbone up. It's just a pure action, like as you lift your breastbone up, straight up, yes, your shoulders are going to lift. And you're going to have weight on your head. So there's weight on your head. There's weight on your pelvis. Your butt is down. And you can imagine like the whole rest of your spine is just lifting up. Your head will toss back a little bit here. And then slowly kind of slide down. Okay, and just do that again, right at your breastbone, at your sternum. Imagine there's a string that's just lifting you straight up. The head, like your hair, will slide a little bit. And keep just blossoming and opening around your heart. Lifting up and then just sliding down. Doing this one more time, just lifting up. So the back muscles have to really contract and the whole spine like lifting up into the body. Throat, obviously, very nice and open. And then just let this just slide back down. Reach your arms now way out to the side. And bend your knees so your feet are on the floor. Now you might need to really rearrange your spine here. Could you lengthen your spine now? Shift your sacrum. And then finally, just a little teeny twisting action here. Lift your feet up away from the floor and just squeeze your legs together. Keep a little lift of your chest and start to rock the legs back and forth. And as you're doing that, naturally one buttock will lift up and then the other side will lift up. And let yourself really control this twist. Twist. So even slower, start to go back and forth and make sure that the legs do not drop or go kaplop down to the side. The legs are kind of hovering. Keep your shoulders down. The head is heavy and the head might roll. Like when you drop your legs to the right, your head might kind of roll to face the left. But we breathe, we feel. Feel the breath now just sweeping through the whole body. Because when you're twisting, twisting is getting that kind of agitating and, just kind of getting into the corners of the body and releasing tension and all sorts of rubbish. So the breath, we're going to sweep it up. Ah. And then as you pause in the center, you just drop your feet down to the mat. Again, like position your spine, so spine just relaxing, taking a few deeper breaths as you prepare for your shavasana. So even as you're kind of breathing here and just feeling the body and gosh, even shavasana, you might have a story of how you like to position your body, but really explore today, like what let your spine decide rather than your brain and its stories. Just be aware of your whole body in shavasana. Intentionally. So I will suggest bring awareness to your legs and just feel you might separate your legs a little more. Because even that little bit more, when they're separated, the legs kind of, they can kind of just drop completely, releasing any tension in your thighs, your inner thighs, deep in your hips, just letting go. And that might, what your legs are doing as they relax, it might affect your lower back. So bring an awareness to your belly and your lower back and just feel that ah, kind of initial, I'm letting go. I'm letting go. So the area of your chest, maybe chest and shoulders, shoulder blades. Ah, arms. Feeling like your neck, your throat, your head. Hmm. Very consciously now moving into stillness. Like we could kind of fidget with the body forever, trying to get it just right. Or you could just pause here, be still. What does no effort feel like now? So the body needs time and space, time to open up to this, to allow this not just a superficial letting go, but a little deeper now. Just feeling maybe your face relaxing, just the skin on the face relaxing, soften your lips. Softening the inside of your mouth, your throat. As we get to know nature, I am of the nature to experience tension. This is just so part of being human is being tense. But I can notice that I'm holding tension and I can send these signals into my body to let go. We see it's possible to let go. Letting go. Let the belly soften. Being really clear about this practice, it's not about like spacing out or sleeping. It's really a deep study of bringing this bright awareness into the body. You might bring awareness to the feeling of the breath moving through your nose. Feel the inhale, the exhale, and even really sustaining your awareness for two full breaths is no small experience of full, complete presence. Breathing into the whole body. Hmm. So the sound of the bell really is just a reminder of transition that, all right, I can now just keep practicing as I move into just my everyday life and keeping awareness in the body and the heart. So, as a reminder, too, as we're aware of these three, what are called these unwholesome roots, there are three wholesome roots. So, rather than greed, we can cultivate the quality of generosity, and to the point where we feel this real joy of giving freely. And then the second one, if we're experiencing that tightness of just anger and, yeah, just hatred or hostility, wanting to say something that's gonna mm, you know when we feel justified with our anger. So the opposite of that is then kindness and compassion. These are to be practiced. And then, of course, the third, rather than delusion or superficiality, this is mindfulness. So this is maybe what we experienced here. And, any way that we can keep exploring something rather than thinking that we know something completely, you know. Um, so there's always, these different facets that we're exploring, and this keeps the heart really joyful and curious. So thank you so much for being here. I will give just a little reminder that um, being given freely is right at the heart of these teachings that we offer through Common Ground. That um, and even over the years, like all of my classes now are in this spirit of generosity, with my main intention that people do this work. That we receive the teachings, and then we practice like according to what we're learning, and this is very challenging work. And then if you want to, support me and, Common Ground, that um, we, this is in a way that we are dependent on people, this kind of circle of giving and receiving. But, we just make sure that not so much that we remind people to donate, that we remind people to just reflect on how it feels. Like, oh yeah, you're receiving the teachings. We receive these beautiful gifts of this lineage. And what would feel right, of like appropriate to give back? One of the main ways of giving back is by taking these teachings to heart and practicing them, showing up for class. I mean, I love it. There's, 20 people out there somewhere in the world gathering and supporting each other here, saying, yes, this is not a dead end. This is going to support me in this challenging time in our world. So, if it feels right in your heart and brings you joy to donate to Common Ground, you could just go to the Common Ground website. I think right below this on YouTube, all of the information is there on how to go to the Common Ground website and donate. And how it works is if you put me in, it's going to prompt you if you want to give to a certain teacher. And if you put Nancy Boler, um, then 2/3 of that would come my way, would go directly to me, and then a third goes to Common Ground. Ah, of course, if you have any questions at all, you could write to info@commongroundmeditation.org, or you can always ask me. And my website is at bowleryoga.com. I will write that in the chat here. Oops, that's wrong. Yeah. So info is on my website too about all my other classes outside of Common Ground, and retreats that I offer and stuff like that. I know Buttercup finally left the room. She had enough yoga. Oh, thank you all so much. Have a beautiful practice.